Hello, One Piece fans. It's David here, coming to you from his humble abode in his house at after midnight. Okay, so we have already had episode 880 in the manga, and it was a very meh chapter. This is not a review on that because to me, if you're gonna post a review, you kind of got to do it the day of it actually coming out. So, yeah, I don't get often time to do this, and uh, I just kind of wanted to post something on One Piece. And I'm not a Patreon person, so you don't have to pay me anything. I'm not one of those guys who wants to do it. I do this for the fun of it. Um, I don't need to get money for this. That would be nice, but certainly it's not my. I like doing stuff like this. So, as far as specifically what I see going forward, you have a no hope situation from the last chapter, 880. Um, you have a situation where the Sunny is about to be overtaken by Big Mom on a big tidal wave. And to me, you have all likelihood only one real option. You have to have basically someone stop the tsunami, which means to me you need an outside force to come in and rescue them, which is going to be the Sun Pirates, and specifically Watatsumi is going to be the actual big person involved with it. Because, I mean, the guy's a giant, and he's certainly shown himself to be in very powerful position, so he should block off the attack. Now, how feasible would they be able to stop Big Mom? Not at all. They can't stop Big Mom. But they certainly can kind of push back and help out the Sunny escape in certainly quick bouts. I mean, if they just did if they basically they can hold off Big Mom for a little bit, just hopefully enough to give them a chance to get that cake out there. Which a combination of the Sun Pirates basically using waves to fight against Big Mom's tsunamis, and a couple coup de bursts could potentially help out the Straw Hats in this situation. That would be the only logical thing I could think of as far as what to do with the Sunny. Now, as far as Luffy goes, he's in the middle of a fight with Katakuri. So, this is a fight that's going to be very reminiscent of the fight against Rob Lucci, which was, to me, probably the best one versus one fight in One Piece. This is going to be that fight. But in a situation where, in that case, Luffy had some wiggle room to escape if he needed to when his friends caught up. And I'm saying when his friends caught up. Because I'm sure he noticed some of it. But as far as specifically the situation where he's in right now, he's in the mirror world. He's surrounded by tons of enemies. And even though he could use Conqueror's Haki to knock out the vast majority of them, it's certainly to his disadvantage as well, because Lord knows if his Conqueror's Haki would destroy all the mirrors inside there and strand him inside there, which is not what he wants. but he might have to give up the chance of escaping to the Sunny itself. Because he cannot chance Katakuri or the Big Mom's soldiers damaging the Sunny. He can't. So there's really only two possible ways Luffy can escape the situation he's in. Two possible ways. The first would be a character who was not shown in a couple previous chapters ago. And it's certainly possible that he might be shown in this situation because you really have a plot hole of where he is and what he's going to do, and that would be Caesar Clown. Caesar Clown could very well get easily captured by the Big Mom Pirates, put in the Mirror World, and he has to save Luffy. That's option one. I mean, he has his heart, but certainly being surrounded by enemies, and being in a situation where Luffy can save him, that might be useful. So that's one option. To me, I don't know if they're going to do Caesar, but certainly having Caesar not show up is kind of detrimental because he is still important to the Kaido story, so they've still got to incorporate him into the story going forward. Lord knows how, but he's got to be involved somewhere. I don't know how, but he will be. Or he could be involved in the Sunny. Oh, Lord knows what. Something. The second possibility is the more interesting and funny situation that could happen. Number one, that Katakuri and Luffy see the cake on Chocolate Town, and one of them escapes through the mirror. Now, in Luffy's case, he could see the cake and be like, whoa, that looks gigantic, I want to eat that. And Katakuri might want to stop him. Or another situation is Katakuri sees Sanji skulking near his sister and is afraid that Sanji might try to hurt his sister. Not knowing that his sister got Sanji to help make the cake in the first place. Because no one knows that Sanji's involved. So certainly I could see that. And plus you had that little weird look in specifically Sanji's eye, that stare for Katakuri, that to me it made sense that Sanji and Katakuri could have a moment later on, and this could be how it pays off. You might find that Katakuri has a weakness to, say, fire. Much like how we found out Cracker had a weakness to water because of Nami's little water attack from her climate-attacked weapon. So, certainly having Sanji involved in the fight with Luffy might be an interesting add-on, especially towards the end when Luffy's basically almost given everything he's got, but still somehow they add in that little second part of the fight in Chocolate Town where, because Sanji's involved, Luffy wins because of Sanji. And that would add a little bit more help to Sanji, because Sanji certainly has not had his moments in this arc. He's had incredible backstory development, but he certainly has felt like he's gone the short end of the straw in the growth and development in ability to fight. So right now, Sanji can't even beat a supernova, let alone a Yonko commander. Lord knows if he could beat a vice admiral in the Navy. That's tough for Sanji. He might be at most a vice admiral. And it's a shame because Luffy's going to need Sanji to start powering up. And helping him fight against Katakuri will be useful. Especially with Luffy there to help out the fight. 2 versus 1 would be more beneficial to Luffy in this case. Because a lot of people don't think Luffy can beat him. And certainly it's showing that Luffy can't beat him unless he develops a new move. Which, it's certainly possible, but I don't know. I don't know. We have no evidence. And certainly a excursion to Chocolate Town, as far as meeting up with Sanji, is something that I definitely see in the cards. Because how else is Luffy going to get back to the Sunny? It's quite simple. Either he gets rescued by Caesar and Caesar flies him, which I don't think is going to happen, or Luffy specifically gets on the boat with Sanji for the cake and help delivers it. Now, here's another interesting thing that I could see happen. Sanji knocks out Luffy and does not let him eat the cake. And they literally do everything they can to stop Luffy from eating Big Mom's cake before it gets to Big Mom. Because if, let's just say Luffy did beat Katakuri, Luffy would certainly try to gobble down that cake before it got to Big Mom. And you know how he loves Sanji's cooking. He loves Sanji's cooking, and it's something I would expect from him. I certainly would. I also expect that Big Mom will not be able to continue going after the Straw Hats after the cake gets eaten. I don't expect it. Now, as far as Katakuri goes, it's quite simple. Why you cannot have Straw Hat Luffy fight Katakuri in the situation he's in and win the fight where he's at with nothing else. It's quite simple. Luffy, whenever he's been in a major fight with a major opponent, even with a new power-up, has always come out of the fight just barely winning, and usually needs time to recover, or specifically is just in a situation where he's exhausted and wounded. So every fight he's had, you've had that he wasn't already superior. Like, let's go back to, for example, the East Blue. Okay, when he fought Arlong. Arlong, he had to recover. However, his fight against, say, for example, Buggy, he didn't have to. His fights against Crocodile and Moria, he had to have recovery time, or would have had to have recovery time if it wasn't for Zoro in the case of Gecko Moria. But other fights during that arc, when he fought Mr. 3, for example, he didn't. Now, if you go to the earlier part of the New World, you had his fights against Arlong, his fights against Caesar Clown, and he basically won those fights easily and wasn't really weakened at all. He certainly could go out and do what he needed to do. But his fight with Don Flamingo, he was down for several days and had to recover. He used too much hockey, so I, I mean, he handled Cracker, which is the weaker of the two, the weakest of the three of the Charlotte Sweet Commanders. He was tired. He couldn't really. Nami said he was kind of exhausted from his fight, but he still was mobile and still able to go. His fight with Katakuri, on the other hand, it's not a situation where Luffy's gonna leave that fight walking. It's not happening. Luffy is going to win that fight, but he's not going to be able to get up on his own. Whereas, if he were to continue that fight in the Mirror World, it's over. Straw Hat Luffy's finished. Because there's no allies to help him, there's no people to protect him. Unless Caesar Clown's there. Because that's the only person that I see that could be in the Mirror World that could save Straw Hat Luffy. And I'm saying the only person. Because there's no one else. Hence why I think there's a much stronger likelihood that the fight's going to continue in Chocolate Town, above Chocolate Town, and I think Sanji's going to get involved in the fight. I also think that Chiffon and Pudding are both going to help Straw Hat Luffy and Sanji after the fight with Katakuri. Get on the boat, and they will do what they can to prevent Luffy from sleep eating the cake and just get rid of it. Because they're going to need that cake for Big Mom and to get Big Mom to not continue on. Now, that would be my theory as far as the Big Mom cake situation. She's going to eat it. She's going to enjoy it. And she's not going to get up after that fight. Cake. It's probably going to be a situation where one of two things happen, in my opinion. Either Pudding gets up close and memory wipes her, or two, the second possibility, and not to mention Parasparrow, should have to. The second possibility is that, or Parasparrow gets killed by Big Mom. We'll see what happens to Parasparrow, because he's the only other person in the Big Mom vicinity at the moment. That could be a threat. The only other possibility is that Sanji makes the cake so good and puts something specific in there that puts Big Mom to sleep. Because that's something I could expect from Sanji. To basically have the Yonko pass out because the cooking's so good from ecstasy that she just goes down and sleeps. Which would be a very, very big moment. And then have Big Mom basically talk about how great the food was that she ate, that she thinks it was a masterpiece. And imagine if everyone thinks Pudding is really responsible for it, and Straw Hats leave with Pudding. Well, now, you just had a situation where Pudding has been captured by the Straw Hats. And that could escalate tensions even more. Because I think Pudding is going to go with the Straw Hats after this arc. I think that's confirmed. I think, in my opinion, I think that's confirmed. Because I don't see how she cannot go with them going forward at this point. And I think Carrot is going to be a Nakama member based on Pedro's sacrifice. And as far as Wano goes, I want to see how it starts up. I don't have any thoughts on Wano yet. I will say that I don't think Luffy is ready to fight a Yonko, and I don't think that all the Supernova combined can beat a Yonko. Just looking at them, I don't think they can do it. Luffy would definitely be the strongest of the whole lot, but I don't think they can do it. So they're going to need some sort of unique training method that pops up in Wano that will elevate Luffy to be a much better fighter. They need that. Much like how Naruto had his Toad Village and Bleach had its street cleaner between worlds place where he trained with his dad, and how Dragon Ball has a hyperbolic time chamber. It's going to need that, and I would say the perfect thing is a double fruit. One that creates a pocket dimension where it changes the flow of time. From a training standpoint, you could do something like that and have Luffy power up, and many of the Straw Hats power up much higher than they are now in a day's time. So I think they will need that in order to fight Kaido, because I don't see them... I mean, you just saw that they're not ready to fight a Yonko crew, and they're going to go fight a Yonko crew now, even with, like, let's just say you have the Straw Hats, the Heart Pirates, the Minks, whatever samurai you can gather, and Lord knows, I don't think there's going to be any of them stronger than Zoro or Luffy. I doubt it. You're going to have Marco and maybe the Whitebeard Pirates and several of their allies. You might have the Grand Fleet show up. And several of the other Supernova. I don't see them beating Kaido during this arc unless they have him power up with a time skip. Even with all the Supernova. The Supernova to me are too weak. Law couldn't handle Don Flamingo. You saw Captain Kidd with Basil Hawkins and Scratchman of Pooh get destroyed. And those are three of the strongest Supernova. At least I think that three of the strongest. X-Drake's another strong one. You have Urgi, who's pretty strong. So, I just... Probably the weakest of all the Supernova is probably Capone Beige. But he's the smartest and craftiest of the lot, I would say. So he's got brains of them. And I like Capone. I think he's a fantastic character. But, I can't see them beating Kaido. Not after Big Mom. I can't see it happening. So, that's my thoughts. And as far as I think the rest of Whole Cake Island goes, Pudding's going to go with them. Carrot is going to be a Nakama member. You're going to have the Sun Pirates kind of join forces with the Straw Hats. Do not expect anything further from Germa 66. I somehow think Caesar Clown is going to show up somehow, and I think you're going to see an epic fight above Chocolate Town with Sanji and Katakuri. And Luffy. and then I expect the cake to be so delicious that Big Mom passes out. And then comedically trying to prevent Luffy from eating the cake too, because I fully expect Luffy to try to go for the cake. Okay? Well, thank you for listening to me, and we'll see what happens. Alright? Thank you.